Hello, everybody, and welcome to session 2 for September 2021. This is Crystal Masters, and tonight I am your host for a divine journey into integration. That's really what tonight is all about. And we've been doing this work on the energetic side in Soul Shift. You know, Crystal Masters is one part of Soul Shift. So Crystal Masters is week 2 of a 4-week program, really. So Crystal Masters is the application of what we're doing in Soul Shift, which is the bigger crafting and journey and intellectual, all of those pieces happen in Soul Shift. Tonight is where, in Crystal Masters, where we take it and we ground that wisdom and we anchor it in the mineral world with our sacred tools. And I'm really excited to be here with you tonight. This is the first time I've seen, This is the first time I've seen Crystal Masters, just so you're aware, because some of you are not in social media, and I don't blame you. It's a hard place to be right now. My mother passed away on August 28th, and we just returned her to the earth last weekend. It hasn't even been a week. I am not one to cancel classes. I'm not one to postpone things. My mother would not want that. She would want me to be right here with you, doing the thing, and it is very healing for me to keep my routine and to stay with you. But I just want you to be aware, because I'm still really in the deepest part of my grieving process. So it's one breath, one day, one thought, one feeling at a time. But if you see me kind of tear up or anything, it's just, I don't know what to tell you except that I'm still human. I'm here as your teacher and as your guide. But even I am going to have these experiences in life that are paradigm shifting. So please bear with me, and my intention is to be fully focused with you here today. And I've been spending so much time preparing today's class. So I'm excited for what we're going to learn together today. But I just want to let you know the way I teach, my teaching methodology, because I used to train teachers before Sage Goddess. My teaching philosophy is called case in point. That's the way I used to teach it anyway. And case in point teaching is a philosophy that says that how the teacher feels, how the students feel is part of the learning. So you can't ignore it. Traditional teaching says, it doesn't matter what you're feeling, what you're thinking, me as the teacher, you as the student, we're just robots and we're here doing the thing. But that's not how I teach. To me, how you feel, how I feel is part of the soup. So anyway, I just want you to know, I know you're here as students in a class, and it's my job to deliver a great program for you, and that's my intention tonight. If I seem a little forgetful, all I can tell you is grief has this way of, if you've never experienced really deep grief, and for sure if you've not lost your mother, first of all, give her a hug tonight, wherever she is. But if you have not experienced this profound of a loss, it really, I don't feel quite as smart as I usually am, although like I said, I'm doing everything I can to be on point, but just bear with me if I seem a little forgetful. It's just because I'm grieving, as I will be probably for some time now. So thank you for your patience and for being generous of spirit, because it really means a lot to me. And, I've held so many of you through your big losses, and so thank you for circling around me during my time, because it really means a lot to me. Okay, speaking of that, I've got so much to tell you tonight, but there is some brain fog, so I'll probably be looking at my notes. You know me and my notes. I got a lot of notes. If you see me looking at my notes more than usual, it's just because I don't want to lose track of everything I had prepared for you tonight. So I'm going to burn a little white sage, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I have planned, and see if you like it. Because tonight's a different class, you know what I mean? Tonight's different. See, some of you know, you've had your mom missing from you for a long time, and such a strange thing. It's really bizarre. Um, I watch Sadhguru quite a bit on YouTube, and I enjoy Sadhguru. And what am I looking for? Anyway, so Sadhguru wrote a book on death, and I thought, I'm gonna get it. It's on Amazon. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I actually think it's pretty well done compared to a lot of the books on grieving. I'm a reader. I don't know if you're a heavy reader, but when I'm going through something, I like to read. I just enjoy books. They bring me a lot of comfort. Because I grew up in a time when we didn't have the internet, so, so if we wanted to learn things, we had to read books. So anyway, I bought the book called Death by Sadhguru, and the most profound thing from the book, because I read the whole book in a day. Yeah, Sadhguru is pretty good. Did you read it, Sylvie Brewster? The most profound thing in the book for me is Sadhguru said that the yogis in India, they go where the bodies are being burned. And they go for days, sometimes weeks, and all they do is sit and watch the bodies come, and because in India most people are cremated, right? It's philosophical, right, rooted in the Vedas, and so the yogis in India will just watch the bodies come through, be burned, and the next one comes through and be burned, and the next one comes through, and what I thought was really profound is he said that he did it too. He sat and just watched the bodies come through, and he said what he learned from that, what that taught him, is that it's going to happen to all of us, and we shouldn't be that attached to the physicality of this life. And I mention this to you because what's interesting to me about that, more than just death and grief, because this is not a class on death and grief. In fact, what I took away from his book is that we should not be in a state of death and grief. We should be in a state of living and joy. My mom would want that. He recommends it. The living are not meant to really dabble much in death. We should be aware of it. We should know it's inevitable, and then we should kind of move the fuck on. Okay, that's why, if you want the Cliff Notes version, that's what I took away from Sadhguru's book. But anyway, what's relevant? Can you be with me in this moment? What's relevant to our teaching tonight in Crystal Masters is this. Anybody new tonight, by the way? We've had some people join Crystal Masters in the last month. So if you're new, I do want to say hello to you and welcome you in. What is relevant for tonight is, just like Sadhguru says, we have to let go of death in order to really live. Are you ready for the big, aha moment, for me anyway, for tonight? Because I'm sitting there reading the book over the last week, and I'm like, this is totally relevant to Crystal Masters, in the weirdest way. Welcome, Shirley Ortiz and Alexandra, and Natalie's new, Tammy's new. Well, cheers, cheers, cheers. Goddess in you is new. How lovely to have you here. So welcome in. Anyway, Sadhguru is one you might enjoy on YouTube. Sadhguru and Mooji are my two gurus I follow on YouTube. But here's what he taught in that book that I thought was relevant for us, which is this. Just like we shouldn't cling to death, right? And it's an old quote actually from Hecate, right? From let the dead be with the dead. The same thing applies to sex and gender for me. So we're going to be talking about masculine, feminine, male, female tonight. And I know this is a tricky, kind of slippery conversation, especially we live in an age, and I love it, where people are very clear about their pronouns. Like, I identify as she, her. Some of you might identify as they, them, right? So we don't know when we look at someone, is it a he or a she or a they, right? So in our modern society, we wait for people to give us the pronouns, right? Like, how should I refer to you? As them, or as you, or as her, or as him? What I took away from Sadhguru is that not only should we not cling to death and life as a duality, but I don't think we should cling to masculine, feminine as a duality. Now, if you don't like what I'm saying, by the way, I'm human, and this is my own wisdom I teach you in these classes. So if you don't like it, it doesn't work for you, out the window it goes, okay? But hear me out for a second. I think it's important for us to recognize And Sadhguru says this so beautifully in the book. When someone dies and they are in that other dimension, and I think of her as my mother, but she's really not my mother anymore. She is now everything that she has ever been. And for me to only hold on to her as my mother kind of denies her everything else that she's ever been in all of her past lives, other energies she may have held in this lifetime that she was or wasn't consciously aware of. So what he advises in the book is, I got to let go of just seeing her as Maureen, my mom, this woman, right? And I have to see her now as this really big spirit that probably incarnated dozens of times, right? And I may have known her in other ways. She may have been my brother in another lifetime or my son in another lifetime, right? And I have to let go of just, that's my mom that I lost, because the reality is that's a spirit that I knew as this incredible woman, but that's not all she was. If this resonates with you, what I want to encourage you to do is take this out of my context and my loss and all those things. And I want you to put this into your life, into your context. You are, let's start with you. You are so much more than the, shish kebab that's in your pants, whatever that is, okay? Whatever equipment you came with, you are so much more than that. And you've come here plenty of times with different shish kebabs, okay? You might have come here with a different kind of shish kebab last time than you have this time, okay? You are not that. One day when you leave this earth, everybody's going to grieve you by your name and however they knew you. But I think if they really honor your spirit, they're going to honor the passing of a big spirit that just chose to come here this last time as this one thing with a certain shish kebab. I don't know what to call it that isn't, I'm trying to be nice, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not about the equipment, okay? I may have a different shish kebab than you have, but you and I are the same, right? So just for tonight, I'm hoping you'll play with me, okay? Because my intention is to lead you through a journey. I'm going to teach you about the crystals we're working with tonight. I'm going to talk to you about the Vedas, which are the oldest spiritual texts on the planet, and how gender and identity is conceived of in the Vedas to try and kind of shift your thinking and open your mind a little bit. And then just for tonight, I want you to imagine yourself as above, beyond, outside of the identity that you've held for yourself forever. Now, society, no matter who you are, how you identify, explaining your pronouns to people, right? No matter what you do or who does the right thing, people screw up pronouns all the time. You can't expect people to read your mind and know that you're they instead of him, right? Like, we can do our best to identify, but we do our best. But no matter how people identify you, or whether they mistake you, or they call you something that you're not, and all of those things, you are bigger than all of that. Nobody can actually contain you. Your soul is so expansive. So my intention tonight, right, is to get you to see yourself, just for the next 90 minutes, a little bit over that I have you, as something other than just female or male, or however you identify, intersex or transgender. I kind of want to just dislodge you just for 90 minutes from all of that, because the reality is your soul, even with those more broad categories, your soul still resists it a little bit, because your soul is still bigger than that. Does that make sense? Yeah, and it's not a mistake if people don't know, because most people want to do right by you. Most people want to use the appropriate pronoun, and they want to identify you correctly. I always have the right intention, but I don't always know. Some people say, well, I identify as they, them, and I'll say, oh, totally, you know what I mean? So sorry for the mistake, and going forward I will do my best to be accurate. But it's, we have to work with this paradigm that's shifting, and maybe eventually, we will all be they, them. At the end of the day, like, I have been male more often than I've been female in my lifetimes. It's really weird. Sometimes, I know this might sound weird, sometimes when I'm like in the shower, I literally will look down, and I'm almost 50 years old, and I'll still be like, oh. I have these moments where I'm like, well, that's fun. Like I still have these surprise moments where it's like, my soul still has to look down and go, oh yeah, I'm biologically female, and that's at almost 50. So if maybe you felt like you are who you are all your life and you've always been that, but for me, I look down and I'm like, woo, look at her, she's cute or whatever, right? Um, and if you haven't felt that way, just hold space and compassion for people who do feel that way, because a lot of us have been a lot of different things, and we still look down and go, wee, that's a party, right? Isn't that fun? And it's weird, and it's okay, you know what I mean? And as a parent, I have to say, I raised my kids completely able to self-identify. I never projected gender and sex identity on my kids. To be candid with you, I know this sounds really funny. I always thought I would be the one who would have kids who were intersex or at least gay, you know what I mean? Just because I'm so open-hearted and open-minded, I thought, the divine is going to send me the kids with gender identity issues because I'm so open to it. And no, my kids have been completely sort of heterosexual, like identifying, in very traditional ways. And I've been like, really? I love it. That's fine. You sure you didn't want to send me somebody who's kind of still discovering? I'm so open-minded, right? But anyway, whatever your shish kebab is, that's not even what today's class is really about. Today's class is about this, okay? Integration. Because no matter who you are, and no matter what bits and pieces you came into this lifetime with, no matter who you are, right? Yeah, my kids could still evolve, and I'm here for the party. I'm here for whatever my kids need to be or become, and they know that. My kids absolutely know that, and I feel like in that way, I've been a good parent. You know what I mean? I was pretty clear about my fluid sexual identity at about the age of 3, and so I kind of expected my kids to be a little bit more articulated about it by now, but these things can evolve, right? So anyway, and I've told my kids, whatever, wherever, whoever, whenever, whyever, they know that they're always going to find unconditional love here. And they can always be open with me about how they're evolving, right? But I kind of just thought, you always think if you're like the one who's so open and ready that you would be delivered the kids who need that, and maybe that will still happen for me. But anyway, my point to you is that today's class is about integration. No matter who you are, and no matter what bits and pieces and bits and bobs and shish kebabs that you were born with, you are masculine and feminine. I have some friends who are like, nope, I'm entirely masculine. There's no feminine in me whatsoever. That's where I get into a little bit of okay, because everything in my training, everything in my experience says that there is duality in all things, but I believe in the Hermetic principles. Do you guys know what Hermetic principles are? I've been teaching them a lot in my classes over the years, but if you're new, especially to Crystal Masters, you may not have heard of these principles, but there are these principles called the Hermetic principles that are sort of like the guiding theosophy, the guiding philosophy of how our universe operates. And one of them is the principle of duality, okay? So there is always a yin yang, a yes, no, a positive, negative. Even in electricity, right, we have duality in our charges, right? And so there is masculine and feminine in the universe, and that duality creates life, right, at the most fundamental core level. The Kybalion, that's exactly right. So I believe in these Hermetic principles that come from the Emerald Tablet that form the basis of what's known as the Kybalion. And these are things that you can look up and research on your own time. It's an amazing journey with the Hermetic principles because they're so simple. It's not like real complex. People read the Kybalion and they're like, that's it? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, these principles that underscore our universe and how it was constructed and created are very, very simple. They're not complex. The Kybalion is not long. Okay, it's a short text with these sort of like underlying principles, but one of them is duality. There is light and dark in this universe. There is day, there is night, right? There is life, there is death. There is duality, but it's a fluid. Every form of duality is fluid, right? I was there when my mom died in the room with her holding her hand. There weren't big bells that went off. It was silent, except I was aware, right? But it wasn't like somebody came in and said, her life just ended and her death just happened. It was like this, it was a very fluid 1 to 2 minute transition, right? Where I knew she had left her body. And so it's like that with everything. Your male feeds your female, right? Your male gives the female what it needs. And your female, your feminine receives what it needs from the masculine, right? There is that constant dance and duality. And so everything is dual. And so when you look at yourself and think about all your emotions, right? Have you ever been really, really angry? Like super pissed, kind of mad? You know what I mean? And you know how even in that moment of like intense anger, it's very easy for you to almost slip into laughter, right? Like you can go from being so mad about something to almost laughing. And it's, again, that's duality, right? We can move from anger to laughter because those are sort of like two sides of the mirror, two sides of the coin, right? So that's what I'm here to teach you about tonight is duality. And if you're going to be a good crystal healer, and other people who teach crystal healing may talk about this. I haven't really heard this talked about much in crystal healing circles, though. If you're really going to be a crystal healer, people are not going to come to you, for the most part, when things are great, right? When they just got the job of their dreams and when they just found the person of their dreams and when they're, living their best life. That's not usually when people seek a healer. Usually people seek a healer when they're on the other side of the curve, where they've lost someone really close to them, or their life is changing and they can't find their footing, or they lost that job that's been supporting them and they don't know what their next steps are going to look like. Usually as a crystal healer, people are going to find you when they're on the downside of the slope. And your job as a healer, in my personal opinion, is to remind them of duality. We're never in grief for very long because the human spirit is resilient. We're never in anger for very long because the human spirit is resilient. There's something in you, because life wants to perpetuate itself, there's something in you that wants to heal, and when we're in pain, when we're in illness, when we're in fear, something says, go find that person, right? Go find that healer, go call that person, and then people find you. And they're not finding you for any other reason, really, except that something in their frequency said you can help them. And your job as a healer is simply to find out where they are and to balance the scales. Right? That's what healing looks like. Healing looks like going from intense anger to a little bit of joy, right? It looks like going from intense sorrow to a little bit of ease and comfort. It looks like going from intense, confusion to a little bit of focus and certainty. That's what healing looks like. And so duality is your most important skill as a healer, to be able to impart that to people. How you do it is going to be up to you. I'm going to teach you how to do it with crystals tonight, but you can impart duality through visualization, through sound and frequency. You can work with essential oils. There are more masculine oils and more feminine oils. And again, I want to get away tonight from male, female. When I talk about masculine, I'm not talking about men. And when I talk about feminine, I'm not talking about women. Okay? So can we all just kind of collectively agree we're going to take men and women and sit that over here when I talk about male and female tonight, masculine, feminine. I want to take it away from physicality because that's the smallest expression, really. Penises and vaginas are kind of the smallest expression of masculine and feminine. The bigger expressions, and every religious tradition has this kind of way of thinking about this, right? Jesus and Mary, for example, and Mary Magdalene in the Bible is sort of one expression of the masculine and the feminine. It's Vishnu and Lakshmi in the Hindu tradition, right? The sustainer of life and the bringer of abundance, right? So again, when I say masculine and feminine tonight, if you start going man woman, let's put that in parentheses so that we can stay with the concepts, because again, you are both of those. you are masculine and feminine all at once. You came from the duality, and you will return to the duality. And at some point, your soul will decide if it wants to come back, and then what kind of container it wants to show up in this time. You know, you chose a container this time, a vessel, and you did a good job. And you'll probably choose a different vessel next time, depending on what the terms of your contract are, and then you'll decide what that needs to look at that time. Feels good, doesn't it? It is a good thing. And this will help you guys, to hold space for duality in the rest of your life, so that your kids, your partner, your employees or employers, so that your community feels more respected by you, because they will know that you understand duality, and not just in a limited sort of physical human way, but in a broader energetic way too. Like a cyborg. I love that too. Okay, so let me, I'm gonna ring my bell. Oh no, I'm not gonna ring my bell, hold on. I am gonna ring my bell. So, session 2 for September has begun. Yeah. And it's true, depending on your life path number, depending on your astrological, placements, what I'm saying will be more important for you or less important for you. Keep in mind that your astrological chart, a lot of you know this, has a yin and a yang hemisphere, right? Everything on the upper half of your natal chart, all your planetary placements and the houses represent yang energy, solar energy. Just like the grid, which is why I have it out to show you. And this grid, by the way, we still have these at sagegoddess.com. You guys have a 20% off and then a gift with purchase today of these sweet little granulated quartz hearts. Did you see these? It's your little gift. You have to put Crystal Master in your notes to get that. By the way, but I want to show you this grid that we made, because this is exactly what's happening in the astrological chart. So everything on this side of your chart, if this is your astrological chart, is yang energy, solar energy. Everything on the bottom of the chart is yin energy. So depending on where your sun is placed and where your moon is placed, and your Venus and your Mars and your north node and your south node, when you look at your chart just visually, if you have most of the activity on the northern hemisphere, you have more masculine energy in your chart. If you have most of the activity on the bottom hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, you have mostly feminine energy. And if it's balanced, then you're balanced. My chart's very balanced. I have friends, though, where I have male friends who have only yin energy in their chart. Everything's under the natal line. So everything is in the lower hemisphere. And I have feminine female friends who everything is above. And so they, even though they're female, they show up as more masculine. And even though my male friends are male equipment-wise, they show up as more feminine because of what's under the surface. So this can be helpful too, just in terms of looking at your chart and trying to balance and see how balanced you already are, right? It's very interesting. So anyway, this is the integration grid that we have for you at Sage Goddess. We glued all the stones on it, so if you're wondering how I'm holding it and nothing's flying away, it's because E6000 is magic. But this was designed, there are 3 stones on here for the feminine, 3 for the masculine, and then kyanite and quartz to sort of represent the integration of the 2. You have most on top. So yeah, it's an interesting, that's a quick read. Seriously, it'll take you 10 seconds to print your chart and just look at it. That will tell you at the most basic level whether you have built-in balance and integration, or whether you have work to do. You need to balance more of the masculine and the feminine. It's interesting, right? All but 2 nodes are masculine for you. Isn't it fascinating? This is a quick way, and you should look at your partner's charts, your kids' charts, your coworkers' charts if they'll let you, your boss's chart, right? It'll just give you a quick read to know, like, where is all of the balance, and you don't even have to make sense of it except to just look and say, if all the activity's on the top or all of it's on the bottom, then you've got some work to do in terms of balancing and integrating the feminine and the masculine. Yeah, so left and right does matter. So let's talk about that too real quick, just to orient you. And then I'm going to dive into my notes. So your brain has 2 hemispheres, right? You know this from psychology class or basic physiology in college. So your brain has 2 hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, okay? The left hemisphere is where you do your math, okay? Your left hemisphere is more objective. Your right hemisphere is more subjective, more artistic, okay? The right hemisphere is governed by the left side of the body, and that is the feminine receptive. So this is my left. It looks like it's right on your screen, but it's left. My left and your left is our feminine side. That's our receptive side. So I want you to take a moment here with me. It's really important to do this exercise, and it's good to do it every so often just to check in. Take a breath there. When I ask you to notice the left side of your body, which is the feminine side of your body, which relates to your feminine ancestry, it relates to everything feminine in your energy field. Do you have pain or discomfort on the left side of your body? Try and draw a line here and only be noticing left shoulder, left elbow, left wrist, left hand, left hip. I want you to just take a moment and notice. They're both psychedelic. Yeah, I wish I could say one was more than the other. So if you have pain, tension, right, on the left side, mine's always on the right. All my issues are on the right. But if you have it on the left, that means there is an imbalance or a block on the feminine side of your body. Doesn't mean the women in your family are weird or bad or anything else. It just means in the feminine side of your energy field, there is a blockage, okay? Interesting, right? If you hurt all over, I still want you to notice usually one side is stronger than the other, okay? Now let's cut right down the middle. Let's just focus on the right side. The right side of your body is the masculine side, corresponds to the left hemisphere of the brain. This is the more objective, masculine, linear, direct, right? When you check in on the right side of your body, do you sense tightness, discomfort, pain, right? For me on the right side, it's shoulder and sciatic. So my issues on the right side span from my shoulder, my rotator cuff, all the way down to my hip. And my left side is almost free of pain. Interesting, right? So tonight we're going to move some of this energy around if you're open to it. You don't have to do all the exercises, but if something sounds good to you or you're curious, I think you should try it. We're going to try to move just a little energy tonight, okay, on the 2 sides to help to identify these blockages. Now here's what you have to know. Your DNA, have you seen DNA, right? It's called the double helix. You actually have running through your central channel up your spine, you have these 2 chains of information that guide your body about how to grow, how to heal, but also how to decay. Your DNA contains the data that your body needs to be born, to grow, and also to decay and to die. So your DNA has all that information stored within it. Your DNA is the dance between the masculine and the feminine, right? Your DNA is the reminder that these 2 energy streams really can't be separated. They're always in this dance that unites them and divides them and unites them and divides them and unites them and divides them like a vortex, right? So Kathleen's asking, I have an injury on the right, does that matter? It does, and you might be more prone, if you have blockages on one side or the other, you might be more prone to injury on one side or the other. I have found in my travels, okay, that awareness that you tend to contract on one side or the other can actually facilitate your healing. Let me say that again. Awareness that you tend to contract on one side or the other can actually start to facilitate your healing. I'm aware that most pain lands on the right side of my body, and that I can start to compensate, right, by using more of my left side, which can create additional pain. So it's important to become aware of this. The Kundalini, that's exactly right, Miriam. The Kundalini is nothing more than the recognition that there are two energy streams in your body that find each other at the base chakra, and then they lift up at the sacral chakra and they reconnect, and then they expand at the solar plexus and reconnect, and then they expand at the heart chakra and reconnect, and they expand in the throat chakra and reconnect, and they expand in the third eye and reconnect, and then they finally, these two like snakes of energy come up and they meet right here at the soft spot at the top of your head called the crown chakra. So it goes root, sacral, solar, heart, throat, third eye, crown. And a Kundalini awakening is nothing more than that energy starting to stir at the root chakra, and then that reverberation echoing through the entire central column until it reconnects up here at the crown chakra. Where it's a great question. Pam's asking, where do heart attacks leave someone since it always starts on the left side? It's a great question, right? But remember that your heart, even though it's sided, right? Your heart is technically on the left side of your body. Your heart is actually the central chakra. My mom died of heart failure, right? And so the center of her energetic system failed. And most often when that happens, it's very difficult, despite CPR and all kinds of valiant resuscitation efforts, it's very difficult to, when the heart stops, the whole column fails, right? It's very hard to bring life back where that central center, that central ray or that central organ ceases to function. The heart is so important to us as humans because it's not only, it's the most important physical organ in the body, but it's also the center of the entire energetic system. It's number 4 of 7. So it sits right in the middle, right? Now, if you have pain and tightness in the middle, like in your neck, remember, Bonnie, that your neck is your throat chakra, right? So you may think of this as centered, but again, your throat and your neck are the place where the masculine and feminine unite for communication and expression, and then they divide again, and then they come back and unite at the third eye for wisdom and insight, and then they divide again. So the throat is just a connection point for those two energy lines, and then the feminine will guide you how to communicate using feminine energy, and the masculine will guide you to communicate with masculine energy. I don't practice Kundalini yoga now, but I have for a long time. And the Kriyas are still tools that I use in my own practice. Kundalini yoga is very powerful. I haven't done much yoga since the pandemic because of pandemic. I have found that a lot of, I can only be around vaccinated people, and it's only because I'm immune compromised, and so is my daughter. But I've found that most people in the yoga community are not vaccinated, so I haven't been able to work with very many people for energy work in the last 2 years. But at some point, I would love to get back into a good yoga practice. I need to be doing more online too. I know so much yoga has gone online, so I need to just find a good online Kundalini teacher. If you have a good online Kundalini yoga teacher that you love and that you follow, I would love to hear names and referrals for those people, because I haven't found a great online Kundalini yoga option. Kundalini yoga, I will just tell you, will absolutely kick your ass. If you're thinking, oh, yoga, I'm going to relax, and you take a Kundalini class and you're in pain the next day, I just want to tell you, it is physically challenging. At least the Kundalini yoga that I've done is extremely physically challenging. So, yeah, if you've got a great online person that you follow for Kundalini, I would love a specific recommendation, because on YouTube it's like a big world, of people, and I would love your specific thoughts and recommendations. Okay. Aw. Well, yeah, so keep us posted. If you guys have one that you really, really love, I think it'd be so fun if we were all taking the same classes together, right? Uh-huh. Kundalini will kick your booty, but it's good for you. Kundalini yoga will make you real cute. And tighten up your booty. Oh, wonderful. And if you teach Kundalini yoga online, let us know. Drop the link. Don't be shy. We'd all love to be able to follow you and do it together. Okay. Hablo español, entonces sí. Sí está en español. There might be people who are not bilingual, pero así es para mí. So yeah, I would love to know a Spanish-speaking Kundalini yoga class. Would be beautiful. Okay, so let me go back to my notes, and I'm going to walk you through some more technical information, and then we'll get to the more experiential part of tonight. It makes your soul cute. It makes very few things make your soul cute and your butt cute. Kundalini yoga is like a twofer. Cute butt, cute soul. That'd be a good motto, wouldn't it? For the longest time, I wanted to, complete my 400-hour yoga teacher training, and the universe just doesn't care if I do that. It just does not put opportunities in my path, so I guess I'm not meant to teach yoga. Okay, you ready? Now, so this is going to get a little technical. Bear with me. Just want to give you kind of nuts and bolts, okay? The soul has 3 tendencies. Tendencies is how it's described in the Vedas. And what I'm sharing with you right now is information from, when I say Vedas, Vedas, the Vedas are the original spiritual texts on this planet. They predate the Bible. The Vedas are the wellspring from which comes yoga practice, the chakra system. I've had the pleasure of trying to translate the Vedas on my own, because I wrote the book called The Ultimate Guide to Chakras a few years ago, and so I was trying to translate directly from the Rig Veda and some of those original texts. It's incredibly difficult. I mean, Sanskrit is not a language that is, native to me, and so, but as a student, I have found these texts to be incredibly powerful, and I think they continue to be really significant sources of wisdom and information from all of us, or for all of us, I should say. Okay, so the soul has 3 tendencies, if you will. These are called Sat, Chit, Ananda. And Sat, Chit, Ananda, you can say it with me, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda is a mantra, actually, that you can recite 108 times. And Sat means truth or consciousness. Chit means C-H-I-T, means meaning. And Ananda means pleasure. So Sat Chit Ananda is the soul's capacity to decide, in a way, what is truth? Does truth come from meaning, how you understand the essence of your experience? Or does truth come from pleasure, how you experience your experience? Does truth come from how you think about something or how you feel about something? Starting to see where I'm going? Yeah, that's exactly right, Alexis and Rose B. Sat Chit Ananda. S-A-T is Sat. Sat means truth. And then Chit means meaning, how you understand something, how you intellectualize something, C-H-I-T. And Ananda, which is a beautiful name, A-N-A-N-D-A, means pleasure, joy, how you enjoy or experience something. Sat Chit Ananda. Okay? It's interesting. So according to the Vedas, okay, the masculine in all of us anchors in meaning. What does this mean? How do I think about this? How do I understand this? The feminine in all of us asks itself, how do I feel about this? Am I enjoying this? Is there a way to find pleasure and beauty in this? So the masculine is like, give me the information, I'll process it, let me think about it, okay? And then I'm going to make sense of it. I'm going to compartmentalize it. I'm going to compare it to other things I've experienced before so that I can understand it mentally. The feminine goes, I felt something like this before, and your intuition starts to go, yeah, this reminds me of when I felt like this before. And so the feminine brings everything into the body. Okay, how do I feel? I'm enjoying this. I'm not enjoying this. This is painful, right? That's the feminine. This is not up here for the feminine, at least initially, is not happening. We're not going, I think, I understand, I am imagining, none of that. We're like, oh, I feel, I sense, I'm uncomfortable, I'm in pain, I'm in bliss, this is exciting, this is terrible, right? Like the feminine is all from the neck down in the Vedas, and the masculine is all from the neck up. How do I think about this? How do I talk about this? How do I put language around this? How do I understand this? How do I intellectualize this, right? And you can see it. I mean, it's crazy, but even in my own family, going through the grief process right now, I'm finding that my male family members are trying to stay focused and like, I think this, or they'll get off on a tangent that has nothing to do with the grief, right? All of a sudden they're thinking about the news or whatever. And I'm finding that the female members of my family who are more in that state of feminine embodiment are like, wow, I really feel like that's true. I feel her, I sense her, I'm you know, my stomach, I'm feeling this in my stomach or in my heart, right? It's very interesting. So if you default to the cheat, the meaning, right? Then you know that more of your masculine is activated. Again, not male, but masculine. And if you default to the ananda, right, the experience of it, the embodiment of it, the pleasure or the pain of it, then you're defaulting to more of the feminine. Now, I finally get to teach you tonight, by the way, what these symbols mean. Have you ever wondered why this is the symbol for the masculine and why this is the symbol for the feminine? Right? Let me make sure I'm putting these. It should be like that. Yeah. You ever wonder why? I get to teach you all of that tonight. So if you default to the feeling, right? Also think about your healing process. Some people, it helps them to heal if they stay mental about it. They make lists or they journal, you know what I mean? They're processing their thoughts. They stay mentally active. They try to find mental distractions. Again, that's a very masculine way of working energy. The feminine way of working energy is I need to be, I need to feel, I need to sense, I need to, a lot of times the feminine will want physical touch, massage, being in water, being, you know, having warm blankets, because again, the feminine will move to an embodiment place, whereas the masculine goes more to the mental. Yeah, so if you're mentally processing more, you're defaulting to the masculine. If you're and the reason I mention this is it's good for you to be aware, because we all have a default, and again, it has nothing to do with your shish kebab. Okay, so you can have a male shish kebab but default to the physical. You can have a female shish kebab like me but default to the mental. Okay, like me. And so I have to be aware. Okay, I'm defaulting to the mental, right? I'm doing checklists. I'm like very focused. I'm trying to like think my way through it. I need to get more in my body. And that's where we start to learn about our own balance or lack thereof and how we can create more of that balance. Does that make sense? Yeah. yeah, like Jess was saying, when I was grieving, I worked, I did all his laundry, I did my homework assignments, I started making plans, right? Like you go into that like action, default, masculine, mental, I'm gonna figure this out. And then the feminine's like, we're not gonna figure this out. We're gonna have to feel our way through it. There's no roadmap, right? And so ultimately, whether it's physical healing, mental healing, think about a big diagnosis, okay? And I'm using my examples tonight just because maybe it's helpful for you, but you can think about this in your own life. When I was diagnosed with MS 11 years ago, instead of going into, oh, I feel sorry for myself, or I feel scared, or I feel all of that, I went mental, right? I started researching, okay, so what does this disease typically look like? What do other people's experiences look like? What medication do I need to take? Who are the best practitioners in San Diego County where I lived at the time? What are the medications I should be taking? What are my options, right? So I went mental, because I default to that. And I didn't feel anything until like a month later. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks, right? Whereas some people, they go right into the feelings. I feel scared, I feel sad, I feel alone, I feel insecure, right? And then later they go to, so what kind of medication should I take? And it's not right or wrong, it's just how we go through trauma. And a lot of times we don't realize how we approach trauma or any circumstance in our life in terms of masculine and feminine until these things happen. So you're going to have to learn your own trauma response in a way, right? And then my recommendation to you is know what your default is, because it's usually always going to be your default. I always go mental first. All right, let's rally around. What do we got to do? What do we got to think? What do we have to have? Who needs to do what? You know what I mean? Like, give me my checklist. And because I know that when I experience something difficult in my life, my first question to myself is, what do I need to feel? So I don't avoid that piece. Because whatever you do first is also a default mechanism. And you need to recognize it so that you can also make sure that you're attending to both parts. And then you lean into, as a healer, starting to learn about your clients or your children or your family members, like what are their default modes, right? And you can ask these questions too when someone comes to you and they're in a state of shock or grief or trauma or loss. And these will happen to you if you're a crystal healer, especially if you share your gifts and work with people. You're going to have sort of you might even develop a questionnaire about, so how are you processing this? Do you feel like you're thinking about it more or feeling it more? Where are you noticing it in your body? Is it more on the right side or on the left side? As you develop kind of a protocol for your clients as a healer, these are questions I would weave into it. These are questions I naturally ask and used to ask when I did a lot of in-person work with people. You know, if you could tell me where this is showing up in your body, if I could divide you in half, would you say it's more on the right or more on the left? That's instantly going to give you more information. Sat Chit Ananda. To the ancient Hindu practitioners, Sat Chit Ananda was called the absolute truth, from which no human could run, could escape. Okay, because your body and your mind are the only real two tools that you have at your disposal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? Sat Chit Ananda. Okay. In the yogic tradition, in the Vedic tradition, again, these are thought of more as archetypes, right? So meaning and feeling are more archetypes than they are male and female. Now, the masculine and the feminine in the Vedas are described as Rama, R-A-M-A, for the masculine, and Hara, for the feminine, H-A-R-A. The Rama is what seeks. It goes after what it's looking for. The Hara is what is sought, what seeks, and what is sought, okay? So this also relates to manifestation, by the way, right? When you, a lot of times people try to manifest in very masculine ways. They go after what they want, like go get it, and I'm gonna get it. And do it, and it's very Western, right? Like I'm gonna make it happen, and I'm gonna achieve, and all these things, right? But the most powerful type of manifestation is actually the manifestation that happens by attraction, right, by the Hara, right? It's like sitting back and attracting what you want as opposed to just going out and clawing after it, right? But again, these are traditional concepts of the masculine and the feminine. If you're somebody who typically goes after what they want, then learning to magnetize and attract through the feminine dynamic may be very foreign to you. You might be like, well, what do you mean I just have to sit and wait for it, right? So yeah, Rama, again, Rama is the masculine, and it's what seeks outside of itself. And Hara, which is the feminine, Hara, from the Vedas again, is what is sought. It's what is desired. So in that tradition, the feminine just has to sit there and wait to be wanted, and the masculine is what goes out and desires and gets, right? Hara is, you can manifest either way. There are plenty of people in this world who, through Rama energy, through masculine energy, just go out and claw their way to whatever they want at any cost, right? But what you manifest through Hara, through receptivity and through attraction, is usually more durable and sustainable, because usually if you wait and attract what's already seeking you, you're more likely to keep it. If you go out and claw your way to things and demand things, and I mean, have you done this before? I think in my 20s I was more Rama, like I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna get that, and it's like, I think in my 30s I realized I'd rather have stuff that wants me back rather than trying to get things that I have to claw my way to. So that's important for you to think about too. In the Vedas, they use a very interesting metaphor for all of this, for the teaching. They talk about music in the Vedas. And what they teach is that the musician who plays the instrument is the masculine, and the instrument itself is the feminine. So the instrument is what is being played, right? And receives the touch and expresses the sound. So whatever instrument it is, in the Vedic tradition, it said that the musician is the masculine and the instrument itself is the feminine. Okay, do you have any questions about any of that? Now there are 4 planes, 4 levels of existence where all of this is happening all the time, okay? There's the mental, the physical, the spiritual, and the emotional planes. So the mental plane is the plane where you are probably much like you are right now. You're just listening, and you're thinking, and you're processing. You might be taking notes here or there, or whatever you're doing to kind of process the information. The emotional plane is where you're just hearing and receiving, right? It's a little bit deeper. It's usually the double click, right? We can mentally process almost anything. And think about how much information you take in all day, every day on Facebook and YouTube, and through, if you watch news and all, I mean, you're just constantly receiving information. So that the mental plane is kind of the most superficial plane because there's really no filter there. The emotional plane is where you decide, okay, I'm going to take this information that I'm seeing and hearing and reading, and I'm going to decide how much of it is relevant to me. And that's a filter, is the emotional plane, right? The spiritual plane is where your human self is in dialogue with your higher self to discern how much of this mental, emotional data actually relates to me in my life, and do I need to integrate this? Because if you think about it, in a human lifetime, there's only so many lessons and insights and experiences that can really shift your paradigm. There's only so many that are really going to, at your core, fundamentally shape who you are and how you experience this human lifetime, right? So the spiritual plane becomes this other level. The physical plane, right, which is to some extent the most basic, but also the most important, because the physical plane is where the emotional, the spiritual, and the mental engage and can actually shape your physical health. So for me, I think the more and more we can do this work together and we can learn how to filter energies, because not everything you think, not everything on the mental should be in the physical plane. Can you imagine if your body had to track every thought you had, your body would be like, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, down. Your body would be like, you know, I think this is a lot of what causes IBS. My theory is that people don't know how to filter the emotional, the spiritual, the mental before it reaches the physical. So the body ends up having to track too much, and it doesn't know how to do that. And because the digestive system is really a form of a brain for us, right? It's the unspoken consciousness. It has to digest what you force it to take in. And for a lot of us, we're trying to take in too much, and the digestive system cannot keep up. Yeah. So the physical level, if you want to protect your health and strengthen your health, you have to create some kind of filtering mechanism between the emotional, the spiritual, and the mental, and the physical. Your physical body should really only be holding your energy and the things that you prioritize to be the most significant for this human experience. 90% of empaths are allowing other people's energy to be received on their physical level. And that will lead you to weakness and pain and physical suffering. I mean, this I can tell you for sure. So I almost want you to start to imagine tonight sort of a barrier between mental, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, and the physical. And become more protective of your body. I was having a conversation with a healer about this last week, and she said, it's really important to remind people. And she was saying, you need to remind your students. So I'm telling you this tonight. She said, you and me, we are not really effectively very capable of healing other human beings on our own. We're just really not, right? We are capable of, her words were, putting them in the hands of God. We are capable of conveying people's problems and concerns to a higher power on their behalf. You know, I will call in your angels, I will ask your spirit guides to surround you, right? But we're more of like intercessors. We really, as humans, are not, and at our best, we are not really able, not as able as our spirit guides and our ascended masters and light teachers, and we are not able to physically heal people. At our best, we're able to put people in good hands, right? To put their problems in the hands of the divine, to put them in the hands of the divine, to guide them to the divine so that they can find their way to healing. But the more you can do that, the more sustainable your path as a healer will be. When you see healers who are sick and burned out and can't do their work for very long in the world, it's because some part of them still believes it's them doing it. And not only is that, I think, a fallacy, but I think it's dangerous to the human energetic system, because can you imagine really trying to help everybody? Most of us can't even really do a great job of helping ourselves. So I think that little piece of wisdom too, you've got your masculine, you've got your feminine, and you've got the 4 dimensions of your experience, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And the physical part of you has to be the part of you that you protect, because it is the part of you that is most vulnerable, right? Really important. And I think as crystal healers, it's important to hear that, and to hear it a lot and to internalize it, because otherwise you're going to come to me a year from now and go, I can't keep doing this work, I'm exhausted, right? I can't maintain it, it's draining me, you know, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to say it's because you've got to give credit to who's actually doing the work. And you have to see yourself with some clarity, which is you are probably a very spiritually gifted person. I'm sure you are, but we are not omnipotent in our capacities. And the more we can recognize that, the healthier we'll be too in our practice. Okay. So we talked about Satchitananda, the 4 levels of healing. So let me talk to you now about masculine and feminine. Yeah, it's true. I always say through me, but not of me. It's not, healing doesn't come from me, right? It can't. Not in this vessel, which is why I think when people cross, they become so much more powerful because they're not weighed down with this physical thing that that is more of a, our bodies are a form of mediation between us and the divine, right? They're beautiful and they're powerful, but they're not all powerful, and that wisdom is a game changer and a lifesaver to a certain extent too. Okay, so I'm going to teach you these symbols tonight. This is the symbol for Mars, right? This is the symbol of the divine masculine. And this is the symbol of Venus. This is the symbol of the divine feminine. And together they look like that. And you are meant to work with these together. Now the feminine, remember I told you the left side of your body, or the left hemisphere of your brain, aligns to the right side of your body. And so you're going to work with your bloodstone, with the Mars symbol, in your right hand. Okay? And the feminine side is your left hand. That corresponds to your right brain. So you're going to hold the obsidian in your left hand. Bloodstone in your right hand, obsidian in your left hand. And I want you to start to, if you have the pair of the stones, I want you to start to hold those now. We do have these, by the way, at sagegoddess.com in the tumbled stone version. You can use your discount and get your free rutilated quartz heart if you want to deal with those. So if you didn't get the pair of stones, the palm stones, I do have the exact same stones in tumbled for you, if you would like those. And Alexis can post a link for you. The duo of them is $3.50 before you're 20% off, which is kind of good. So that makes it just about $3.10 or something for the duo of those. And again, obsidian is feminine, even though it comes from fire. Obsidian it's a form of lavic glass, and it comes only from Mexico, this particular obsidian anyway. And you'll find obsidian like on the western coast of the US and some other locations around the world, primarily obsidian, and all the Sage Goddess obsidian comes from Mexico. And to the Aztecs, it was considered the most important element or stone of clearing energy, that it could purify in so many ways, which is very feminine to me. It could purify anything, including illness, energies of illness or disease. And then bloodstone, which is a mix of red and green jasper, comes from a couple of different places in the world. This is Indian bloodstone, by the way. There's also bloodstone from South Africa that has more quartz in the matrix. This is more traditional Indian red and green jasper bloodstone. And bloodstone is considered to be more masculine, helping to move energy through the system, and it does so through the heart and the root chakras. So whereas obsidian is primarily root chakra, bloodstone incorporates the energies of the heart. And so that's the duality of the two stones. That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. They feel good in your hands, right? Yeah, and the shape of the stones is the Merkaba. This is a one-dimensional Merkaba. And so the Merkaba, when it's made one-dimensional like this, it looks like a hexagon, right? A six-sided shape. You can count the sides there. Hexagon comes from the Greek word exi, H-E-X-I, which means six. And so it's six-sided, and it represents the concept of as above, so below. So the concept of the hexagon is that there is balance in the universe. There's balance in your body, there's balance in your mind, there's balance in your spirit, and there is balance in the universe too. So again, your left brain corresponds to your right hand, and that is your masculine. And so that's going to be your bloodstone with your Mars symbol. And then your right brain corresponds to your left hand, which is your feminine, and that is going to be your Venus symbol. There we go. Are they buzzy in your hands? I'm so glad you like them. So Liz Dan, have you got it? Feels good, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to take you back to the symbols for just a few minutes. In ancient astrology, planetary movement was considered very sacred. And so our ancestors tried to figure out what the planets really represented. Okay. Now, Mars is the planet that rules Aries. Okay. And so Mars is considered a fiery planet of war. This symbol was always considered to be a sword. It's the circle of creation with a sword coming off the side. Okay. So that's the oldest interpretation. Now, it also the Mars symbol also represents the letter theta, Theta, in ancient Greek, and theta corresponds to the word thoros, Thouros, which means raging or rushing into battle. So this symbol, actually to the Greeks, looked like the letter theta, Th, and corresponded to the concept of thoros, which is raging or running into battle. Okay, so that is where this symbol comes from. It represents the sword, it represents raging into battle or rushing into war, and it represents Ares, the god of war, which is where the word Aries comes from, and Aries is ruled by Mars. Does that make sense? Okay, now this, the Venus symbol, hopefully you geek out on etymology and the roots of your languages as much as I do. I love this so much. Venus was thought to come from first of all, this was considered a mirror to the ancient Greeks. That you would hold this by the handle and look into it and gaze and see your reflection. I don't know if that's true or not, but I kind of like the theory. Okay, so the symbol of Venus actually represents the word phosphoros, or the letter phi, 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 in ancient Greek. And phosphoros means bringer of light. Isn't that interesting? And so that's where the mirror analogy comes from, that we would hold a mirror and reflect the light. And also from the Greek letter phi, which is the root of the word phosphoros, which means light. Interesting, isn't it? And so this connects us to the first goddess of light in any pantheon was Inanna, and takes us back to ancient Mesopotamia. And Inanna was referred to as the goddess of light, she who brought light forward. We move forward into other cosmologies, into ancient Greek mythology, for example, where Selene was the goddess of the moon. She was said to have gazed into her own visage by looking at the moon's light. And so all of the Greek goddesses, the Roman goddesses, the Mesopotamian goddesses were considered goddesses of light. And again, that takes us back to the Greek letter phi, which is the root of phosphoros, bringer of light. Isn't that fun to know the different symbols and what they represent? I've had people ask me for so many years, can you please teach Mars and Venus and where the symbols come from, and is it related to Greek culture? Does it take us back earlier than that? So I love kind of taking you through some of the origin stories of these symbols. So now you can go and share that with other people in your life and where those symbols come from. Now, these symbols have been used outside of ancient cultures dating back at least to the early 18th century, when these symbols started to be used in botanical writing to indicate the sex of plants. Because plants can be male or female, right? That's a long-standing debate, Laurie Michelle, about who's older, Inanna or Danu. I don't know if you were in the class I taught about this. Some of you were there. I don't know if Laurie was there, where I taught you about Inanna and Danu and how the ANU, I don't want to take you too far down a rabbit hole, but do you guys remember, some of you were there in those classes I taught, that Danu and Inanna take us back to Anu and to the Anunnaki, who we believe were the first hybrid human species on the planet. And so my philosophy, having studied ancient civilizations since I was in college, I used to teach the history of Western civilization as a professor at university. Do you remember this? So my reigning theory is that the AN or ANU takes us back to that original civilization on the planet. And if you've read my crystal history book called Crystal Lore, you don't have to, but I wrote a crystal history book of few years ago. You can find it on Amazon. I wrote a whole section on how I think Earth evolved. And my theory is, based on a lot of research, is that the Anunnaki, who were the first colonizing civilization on our planet, came here actually looking for gold. They needed gold because they were, depending on where you read, they were struggling to survive as a civilization. And Earth was the planet in all of the solar systems, all of the galaxies and galaxies upon galaxies in our multiverse. Earth has the highest proportion of gold of any planet that you'll find. And so the Anukim, or the Anunnaki, descended on Earth and then created a race of humans to help them mine gold so that they would create a more sustainable civilization for themselves. So whether you look at Inanna or Danu, these are all the sort of patron mother goddesses, and every civilization either used AN or ANU in their original goddess names to denote that first energy, which I believe takes us back to the Anukim. You probably weren't looking for that whole story, but since it came up, it's always fun to take you back through those origin stories of our planets. Like, why are we here, and why did they choose Earth, and why do these mother goddesses all have the word An in their name, and is that connected to the Anukim, which, and my answer is I think it's all connected. Yeah. So anyway, enjoy Crystal Lore. What else did I want to tell you about that? I think that's it. All of the original religious ceremonies, even pre-alchemy, which is what I teach now. Alchemy was the first science. And alchemy comes from ancient Egypt. Egypt was referred to in ancient times as Kemet, and alchemy means from Kemet. That's what it means. And chemistry, Chemistry, the modern study of chemistry, takes us back to alchemy, which takes us back to Al-Kemet. And Al means from, and Kemet means Egypt. So everything, the study of metallurgy and the periodic table of the elements, I took all the chemistry classes in college because I was pre-med. So if you studied the periodic chart of the elements like I did, we were studying alchemy in so many ways. All of the original religious orders and civilizations and structures on our planet were studying metals and how those metals interacted with other organic and inorganic substances. And that's where gold, as the goal of alchemy was to create gold, that's where that whole process comes from. And so when we talk about masculine and feminine and wanting to understand all of this and the symbols for male and female, really those symbols were first used not to identify humans, but to identify the difference in metals and plants, because some metals were considered to be masculine and some metals were considered to be feminine, just like some plants, and some are masculine and some are feminine, right? Yeah, so if your name is Anuka or Anika or Anna or Anna or Anne, what are some other modern names that derive from Anu, right? All of those names are an homage, really, to the original source civilizations on this planet. That's fascinating, isn't it? This is like my favorite thing to talk about. So what I want to do, now that we've talked a whole bunch, is I have these two spray colognes, and I use them to this day for connecting to the energies of masculine and feminine. So I'm going to show these to you. Just pull this sprayer off of one. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it to reconnect. Oh, poop. I might have broken my bottle. Let me see if I can fix it. Well, I may not be able to show that to you after all. I was going to mist you with it. There's Animus, which is for the feminine, which is amber and champaca. These were super old back in the day. So if you have something amber, champaca, rose, lavender, these are very feminine oils. Champaca in particular is very feminine. Jasmine's very feminine. Anything like that. What I would love for you to do for the little meditation that we're going to do right now is to anoint the feminine side of your body, which again is going to be the left side of your body. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this down the left side, and that's called Animus. And then Anima represents the masculine, and that is oak moss. And so you can work with oak moss, patchouli, vetiver is going to be very masculine for you. And sometimes it's nice just to put the feminine oils down the left hand and the masculine oils down the right hand and blend the two together. That will help you connect energetically and also smell really good. Wipe what's left on your clothes and in your hair. Gold is actually a really good perfume. For a lot of different things, but gold is one of the most balanced of all the perfumes I've ever made for you. Gold perfume. Because it has a lot of those ingredients and it really has a nice balance of the masculine and the feminine oils in it. So that would be a good combination. Morgana is going to represent your feminine. So then you'll just want to work with a Merlin or there'll be some other good masculine. If you have any of our old perfumes like Valhalla to activate the masculine energy, if you're working with a feminine, you want to also, for tonight's work, also work with something that's going to activate the masculine too. Or if you have gold, like I said, you have kind of an automatic built-in duality. And if you don't have gold, we still have a few bottles of it too at sagegoddess.com. Don't forget your code is 20treasure. And then don't forget to put Crystal Masters in your notes so you get your free little gift today. By the way, did you see your tool for next month? I'm so excited. We had a pink petrified wood perfume bottle bracelet made for you, and you get a pure essential oil blend called Lineage. And we're going to fill our perfume bottles with Lineage together. And that's what your bracelet looks like. Isn't that cool? It's like having aromatherapy to go. I'm so glad you're excited about it. I know. Super cute, right? I'll just wear it for the rest of class so you can see it because it's so cute. That's a little quartz perfume bottle on there too. That almost didn't happen because we almost couldn't do it without, I don't like to raise prices, so it's like it had to be $30 because I don't like to raise prices on your tools. I was so proud of that because it's all natural quartz and pink petrified wood. So if you subscribed to your tools by last night, I'm really glad. I think you're going to love it. Okay. So what I want to do for the rest of our time together, these tools are going to end up being some of your favorites. I recommend that every single day, if you can, and you can leave these by your bedside. That's the number one thing I recommend. Because right before you fall asleep or right when you wake up is the best time to do your balancing exercises, your integration exercises. What does that mean? Holding the bloodstone in your right hand and the obsidian in your left hand and visualizing the energy of those two stones rising up through both of your arms, over your shoulders, and then all the way through your central channel. It's just a quick visualization. Basically what you're going to do is a short version of what I'm going to take you on now, which is a little bit of a guided visualization and meditation. So hold your stones while we do this together. Woo! I think deep roots is masculine. I'm going to take this off just while I drum because I don't want to be slapping the drum with it the whole time, but I'll put it back on afterward. That'll get weird after a little while. Now, I'm not opening a whole circle tonight because we're not activating and raising a lot of energy. We're just tuning in, just meditating. that bloodstone in your right hand. This is the stone of pain relief. If you have pain anywhere in your body, you just lay that stone on. And that's one of the reasons I chose it. It's flat, it can lay anywhere on the body for you or a client. I want you to feel that bloodstone. It's got two energies. One is for heart healing, and the other is for body healing. So I want you to feel those two energies coming up through your right hand, over your elbow and your shoulder. Feel it activating your heart. Feel it activate your root. Feeling those energies wind up your central channel from your root chakra to your solar, to your throat, to your crown. And I want you to feel that energy of the obsidian in your left hand. Activating divine feminine energies of release, surrender. Feel those energies run through your arm, to your elbow, over your shoulder. Feminine jumps chakras. So here we're activating more of these solar, or the sacral. Back to the heart, and then to the third eye. Our intuition is always the feminine. That's right. So while you focus on these two energy streams tonight, feeling the masculine, feeling the feminine. That's your Ananda. And then understanding the masculine. That's your Chit, right? Understanding the feminine. And then both of these are your Sat, your truth. Truth of who you are, truth of what you are. I want you to imagine a line of energy within you that is neither masculine, neither feminine. It's neither, it's both. The part of you that doesn't identify with a name, not this name, not this lifetime. The part of you that's nameless, formless, right? The part of me that's not Athena, right? Isn't partnered, doesn't know its gendered roles in this lifetime. Part of me that's eternal. The part of me that can come back next time as something else, right? Isn't bound to this body, to this identity. And so as you visualize the masculine and the feminine, like that double helix of your DNA, I want you to visualize a straight line cutting through. That is neither of those things. It's both of those things. Part of you is not dual. This is your power. This is the part of you, that's the I am line, this beautiful Lola. This is the part of you that can't die, right? This is the part of you that doesn't belong to anyone, to any one place. This is the eternality in you. yes. It's not no. Let's anchor into that energy now. Gather up all the energy on the right side. Bring it center. Gather up all the energy on the left side. Bring it center. And just for a second, you don't have to answer me. Keep your eyes closed. If you had discomfort earlier on the right side, on the left side, what happened to it? Shifted, huh? This exercise that I'm leading you through now, it's the most potent pain relief meditation I can take you through. Even in my body, that right side softens. It's all being brought back to center. And that's where we heal. We don't heal as masculine, as feminine. We don't. We heal in integration and unification. Because we heal when we go back to the core of who we are. But these crystals are reminders. They're balancing tools. You noticing? Might be subtle. That pressure, that tension slips away, isn't it? Yeah. Just noticing. Just noticing. Bringing it all back to center. Now I want you to ask your spirit what your crystal of integration is. I've given you bloodstone for the masculine. I've given you obsidian for the feminine. What's your stone of integration? What crystal should you be working with to find this middle place? Okay? I see you, Tiffany Fox. I'm bringing my drum down just a little bit so you can hear me better. So what's your crystal of balance between the feminine, between the masculine? Based on your intuition, on your feeling, your sensing, right? And if you're feeling an intensification in your pain, I want you to move into dialogue with it. What's your pain speaking to you tonight? Often pain is an awareness, it's a message, needing more attention, needing more focus, needing more awareness, right? Dambarite, citrine, it's beautiful. And go into dialogue with that pain. Invite that pain back to center, back to balance. All energy you run in your body runs through the Sushumna, the central channel, according to the Vedas, right? So invite it back to center and run that energy through the central column. And invite the feminine energies to come and soothe it and comfort it and nurture it. Invite the masculine energies to come and move it, release it, right? Shift it, ground it. Imagine the feminine wrapping its arms around it. Imagine the masculine shooting its arrow through it, right? The duality meeting in the center. Carnelian, lepidolite, compassion stone, I like that too. Blue kyanite's beautiful too, Sharon. Rose quartz, I like that too, Matthews. You'll know which stone is right for you as your center stone. And I recommend storing these palm stones with your integration stone that's being gifted to you by your spirit guides right now. Hydrozinca, Lishman, yeah. That's right. Bumblebee Jasper. Tiffany's feeling adventuring. I like that. Because green adventuring is like new beginnings, you know? I like that a lot. It feels good. Lapis for Lorian. Karina's feeling amethyst, which she doesn't work with. It's probably something you don't work with often, so I like that a lot for you. Super 7 for Jennifer. Now for pain relief, my favorite technique, and you've got one of my favorite pain relieving stones in your hands right now, bloodstone. You have to have a piece of bloodstone in your collection. Yeah, even if it's just a tumbled stone, you need to have it. My favorite technique for pain relief. I always say this, and if you've been with me for a long time, you've heard me say it. Pain needs a direction and a permission to leave you. Tell it where to go, give it permission to go. You can say, leave through the root chakra, and give it permission to go. Leave through the crown chakra, give it permission to go. All the chakras can express pain, can relieve it, can release it. To give it permission, give it direction, permission, direction, permission. You're going to say, pain, I release you through the root chakra, and I give you permission to go. If it's taught you its lessons, it'll leave. Beautiful. Yeah. Give you permission. And you can imagine, if you're a visual person, the energies of these stones wrapping themselves around that area of pain, releasing the tension, the blockage. All pain begins as an energetic blockage or contraction. And then it needs direction and permission. And if you're feeling it right now, take that bloodstone and place it directly on the place where you have the pain. If you can't reach it, place it on the opposite side. Give permission to move through the systems. Beautiful. You're doing great. And let's give those energies permission to move through the root chakra. Giving pain energies, blocked energies, permission to move through the sacral chakra. Giving pain and blocked energies permission to move through the solar plexus. Giving pain and blocked energy permission to move through the heart chakra. Giving pain and blocked energies permission to move through the throat chakra. Giving pain and blocked energies permission to move through the third eye. Giving pain and blocked energies permission to move through the crown. And I like to imagine those energies as they're leaving my system, finding their way down to the center of the earth, where they can be alchemized and transformed and transmuted We never lose energy, but we can transform it into a usable form. So you can imagine that pain energy being transformed into energies of comfort or healing or strength or perseverance or faith or trust or ease and flow. And then just taking that really deep breath right there. I see you, Penelope. Mm-hmm. Just give it permission. And you know, when tears come, let them come. The human body only knows how to release energy in a few ways. It's really true. This is the one thing you'll really learn over the years of doing energy work. The human body can cry, it can shake, it can burp, it can fart, it can yawn, it can sweat. I mean, those are the primary ways that can release energy. And if you ever do medicine ceremony in big groups, like I've done for so many years, you'll look around the room and there'll be people sweating, and then there'll be people crying, and there'll be people shaking, and people coughing, and yawning. I yawn. Watch, I'll start doing it now. And we're all doing the same thing. Some people cry, some people shake, some people yawn, some people burp, some people fart, some people sweat, some people get really cold and have to wrap up in blankets. And their bodies are all doing the same thing. It's just the uniqueness of each one of us. We're like fingerprints. Nobody does that work the same way, right? Yeah, you can sing to move it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you were here for part of it or all of it tonight. It's so good. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to show you, I'm going to go over here to my trusty table, because I want to show you, you can do this whether it's tumbled stones or the palm stones. You know, I have tools for you, but I never want you to feel like if you don't have those tools, you can't do the work. So, but you should have something that represents the masculine and something that represents the feminine, okay? And a pendulum. Mm-hmm. Deanna rocks herself. See, that's another one. Oh, yeah. And you want to separate them enough so that you can get a good read on this. Now, my pendulum is well trained. Let's see if I can lift this up so you can see a little bit better. That's good. So what I like to do, and this is an ongoing thing, because sometimes your masculine and feminine will be in balance and sometimes they won't, you know what I mean? So if you have a client and a lot of you are doing remote healing work, which is fantastic. I mean, remote healing work is the way of the future, right? We don't always have to be in the room together to do crystal healing. You can do healing work on behalf of people. Sometimes I even do this before I work with somebody, even if we're not working on masculine and feminine, because it gives me a good kind of beat on what's going on with them. Is we're going to find out, is your masculine balanced and aligned, and is your feminine balanced and aligned, using the pendulum and these two stones. And this is something you can do at the beginning of energy work with someone, something you can do in the middle of it, something you can do at the end of it, or something as you're completing the session to say, as you go home, I think you need to spend more time balancing the feminine. That can mean drinking more herbs associated with the feminine, working with more crystals, working with more essential oils and aromatherapy, or with certain frequencies, right? Okay, so let me show you. I'm going to check my own, and then if you guys would like me to run it on you, I would love to test for you too. So north-south, like you see here, is yes, these are my, feminine is balanced, and left-right is going to be no, okay? So I'm asking Spirit, is my feminine balanced? I'm not moving it, by the way, but my camera is kind of low. It's hard to get the whole thing in the shot. But it is saying, yes, my feminine side is balanced. My feminine energy stream is balanced. Is my masculine balanced? And it's saying yes. This is how I feel, by the way. I don't feel out of balance, but this is something I work on all the time. I mean, one of the reasons I'm spending a whole Crystal Masters class on masculine and feminine and teaching you everything going back to the Vedas and Mesopotamia and ancient Greek and the symbols and the etymology and everything is because I think this is one of the most important things for you to know as a crystal healer. because every single person you ever work with, including yourself, is going to have to sort out this balance. And if they're imbalanced, then I want to talk about how do we get things back into balance. But it's a constant work in progress. Okay, so let me see a few of you. So Michelle Van Cook. Michelle, let me see. So is Michelle's, look how the pendulum just wants to do this thing, man. Michelle's feminine is balanced, 1000%. Michelle's masculine, not balanced. Did you see that? Once again. Oh, Anna Maria's, it's your birthday. Okay, Michelle, so let me just double check you, Michelle. Look at that. Feminine, woo, you got no work to do here. Masculine, automatically not balanced. So we'll come back and talk about some strategies and techniques. It's Anna Maria's birthday. Okay, Anna Maria, the feminine is not balanced. Did you see that switch? Anna Maria needs to balance the feminine. Isn't this fun, you guys? I'm telling you, everybody in your life is going to want you to do this for them. Anna Maria's masculine is balanced. Did you see it? Feminine not. Masculine is. Okay. Let's see. Let's do Amanda Gonzalez. Amanda. Feminine, balanced. Like big time balanced. And then Amanda's masculine needs to be balanced. So she's the opposite. Fascinating. Let's see. Can both be unbalanced? Sure, Jeannie. And both can be balanced too. Okay, Becky Loomis. It says balanced feminine. Strongly balanced feminine. Becky Loomis says imbalanced masculine for me, for Becky Loomis. Okay. Let's see. Kathy Eastman. Kathy, balanced feminine. Balanced masculine for Kathy. Very balanced for both. Okay. Vicky Payne. Not balanced feminine, Vicky Payne. Look at that. Vicky Payne. Balanced masculine, imbalanced feminine for Vicky Payne. Lauren Conway. Lauren. Balanced feminine. Okay, and Lauren. Not balanced masculine. Did you see how that did a little flippy floppy there? So you need to work on the masculine. Oh, you're so sweet, Kathy Chase. All right, Deanna France. Do you guys get the hang of this, how to do it? Deanna has balanced feminine, very balanced feminine. And then Deanna has imbalanced masculine. Yeah. Okay, and let's see, where am I going next? Ariadne Norellis. She is balanced feminine. I feel like you're balanced on both sides. Yeah, the pendulum is showing that to be true. So balance on both sides for Ariadne Norellis. Okay. Cindy Conti. Cindy. Sending you so much love. Blessings of Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. So you've got balanced feminine, Cindy, and then let's take a look at the masculine. Whoa. So we need to balance the masculine, Cindy. Yeah, but your feminine was nicely balanced. It just does that little flippy. I love it so much. Okay, Vicky says, I must be doing something wrong. I get neither balance. Let me check Vicky Payne. Vicky. I'm showing you balanced in the feminine, but not balanced on the masculine, Vicky. It's Wendy's birthday. Wendy, that's right. I'm so glad you're here. Those of you who it's your birthday, can you see how cool it is that you're coming to class? That just absolutely means the world to me. This is your special day, and you're spending some of that time with me and your classmates. I want to say thank you to you for that. Okay, Wendy. Wendy's got a nice balanced feminine. I like that. And then Wendy has nice balanced masculine too. I like it. Feels real good. It's equally strong on both sides too, by the way. That's also an indicator. Thank you, Hillary. I see you too. Okay, Deborah Peterson. Can grieving make us not balanced? Of course it can, Deborah. Deborah, it says you've got a nice balanced feminine. But let's see what Deborah says for masculine. I've got you balanced on both sides, Deborah. Yeah. Oh, you're so welcome, Deanna. There's always work to do. And listen, what I'm going to tell you is, this is 411 from today. You could run this again tomorrow and get a different result. And it could be because of what you're eating, or it could be a difficult conversation that you have that throws your energetic balance off. I mean, all of these things are highly subject to your environment, to your experiences, and it doesn't take much. Your energetic system is always trying to find equilibrium. That's the good news. But what can throw it off is very subtle, and it can be a cold or a flu that you have, or something that you're eating in your diet that isn't registering and isn't helping. So one of the things, I would stay here and do this with you all night long, but I know that some of you have things to do other than Crystal Masters class. Did that 2 hours go by really fast, or was it just me? I feel like we just started. But I do want to tell you how much I loved being with you tonight. Truly, I was really looking forward to this class. I've spent a lot of time preparing this class. I think it's super important for you as crystal healers to understand masculine and feminine. And I'm going to stay with you for a few more minutes just to talk about balancing the energies. But if you have to leave, I completely understand, because we are at 6 o'clock. But let's talk about balancing energies. You ready? Now, the number one way, yeah, and Alexis put all of the tools for masculine and feminine, like anima and animus, and the grid, and the tumbled obsidian, and the tumbled bloodstone. It's all in your class tools section, and then you guys, but make sure if you are buying anything that you put Crystal Master or Crystal Masters in your notes, because we're going to send you a free rutilated quartz pendant. We got you these little rutilated quartz pendants as gifts. So it's not a big deal if you forget, but it's kind of fun for you to get a little free gift too. So let's talk about balancing energies. So the number one way to balance masculine and feminine, you're going to laugh at me, and you can go ahead and laugh, is to have an orgasm. When you have an orgasm, I know it sounds crazy, but when you do, and it doesn't have to be with another human being, this can be a solo operation. Sometimes those are the best. I'm really good at dialing my own number, if you know what I mean. Anyway, who's been doing it as long as I have? But as soon as you have an orgasm, all of your chakras are aligned, and it creates an instant balance between masculine and feminine, between the giving and the receiving. Now, other than that, what can you do? I would love to give you a list if you would be interested in this. I know we're talking about crystals tonight. It's really true, actually, the orgasm thing. If you don't believe me, try it. Orgasms help with manifestation. Did you know that? If you focus on what you're trying to manifest right when you're at the party place, right when you're at the peak, you're 10 times more likely to manifest what you're trying to create. And that's called sex magic. But other than that, herbal teas are a great way to balance masculine and feminine. And I would be more than happy to put a list of the herbs that I consider more feminine and the herbs that I consider more masculine for you. When I'm trying to activate more of the feminine energy, There's certain, herbs that I like to work with. I do, I don't know if you do this. I do like hot tea, but I do a lot of cold infusions. What I'll do is take some alkaline water in the morning and fill up a mason jar. I'm a big fan of mason jars. There's these ones you can get on Amazon that have like a plastic lid and it has a little flip top. I'm a big fan of mason jars because you can wash them in the dishwasher and it stores, that's about 2.5 cups of tea for me. So in the morning, what I do is I take alkaline water, I put my tea bags in, whichever kind of tea I'm making. I usually will grab some fresh herbs out of the garden depending on what I'm working with. So if I'm doing more feminine work, I'll grab some mint, for example, um, which I consider more feminine. If I'm doing more masculine work, I'll grab some rosemary or some curry and pop those into my cold infusion. You can put crystals in there, quartz-based crystals, you know, amethyst, clear quartz, smoky quartz, rose quartz, aventurine, shungite. It's good for a cold infusion too. And that will last me for 48 hours, and you can just cold brew it right in your fridge. It works really, really well. So a mix of some fresh herbs and some tea is really helpful. Tulsi is very feminine for me. I'm trying to think of the brand of tea that makes the Tulsi. I think it's called, what's the really good organic Indian Tulsi tea? Some of you probably know it. There's a rose Tulsi that you can get, and it's India something, and it's organic. Like the bags are organic. They do a really nice job. That makes a beautiful cold infusion. When I want more masculine, I'll work with turmeric. I find ginger to be quite masculine for me, but those are also in Ayurveda. Those are more of your warming herbs and medicines too. Indian organics, that's right. Organic India or something like that. Yogi's good. India Organic or Organic India, whatever those are, that's a really good company, and it's their Tulsi that I love so much, and I almost always put Tulsi in there. Yarrow is very feminine. So if I'm working with a lot of sorrow or grief energies, yarrow is very helpful. Lavender is really helpful as a feminine tonic too. The rose Tulsi is absolutely beautiful. Numi is good too, and Numi does a turmeric that I like. If I'm having like joint and bone pain, sometimes I get neuropathy with my MS. It's called Turmeric 3 Roots by Numi, and it's super, super good. It's just a heavy duty turmeric tea, and I do a cold brew infusion of that. Sometimes I'll put fresh ginger in there and some mint from the garden, and it's absolutely delicious. Yeah, puka teas are really good too, and they're organic. But there's a lot of brands of tea that are not good to buy. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to give you the ones that I know are really good quality, that the bags are good, that the ingredients are good, because if you're going to be cold brewing and steeping your teas, you want a good quality bag too. Ashwagandha is beautiful too. I think of ashwagandha as being quite masculine. Casey, I'd be curious to know what you think too. But yeah, I'll kind of sort this list for you. Give me a couple days, give me till the end of the week, and I will put just my list in the group of masculine and feminine herbs. And then would you guys do me a favor? I would love to have your thoughts, because I'm going to learn something from you. So I would love for you to comment in there or post your own list of herbs. A lot of you are herbalists and, have pretty extensive training in that area, so we can all kind of learn from each other. We can do the same thing with essential oils too, right? You think of rose and jasmine and champaka and lavender absolute, right? Ylang ylang as being very feminine. And then I think of the vetivers, the oak moss, the patchouli, the cedar wood, the juniper as being more masculine, pine, spruce, all of those, right? So anyway, this is kind of another level of how you can incorporate other modalities. One of the things for me, and I will always tell you this, I mean, this is a crystal healing program, and at the end of the day, my hope is that you're going to go out in the world and heal people with crystals. When I do healing sessions with people, I almost never do a session exclusively with one modality. It's crystals right? It's crystals and aromatherapy. I'm laying crystals on, but I have essential oils in my hand and I'm bringing them to their nose, right? I'm drumming. I'm working with tuning forks and sound tools. For me, I think of myself as a holistic healer, so I'm incorporating all of those tools. And then I like to give people some homework. You should make yourself an herbal infusion each day with X, Y, and Z. and give people other tools to work with. I think that's what makes a powerful healer, is when you are multi-dimensional, and people know you're going to give them an incredible crystal healing session, but they also know they're going to get a little added bonus from you, right? They're going to get some of this additional information that enriches their healing. And I think that's important too. Yeah. So, and then run your pendulum over your stones. These are the two that we're working with tonight because they're so kind of traditionally masculine and feminine. But you can assign other stones. Let's say you wanted to work with sunstone's very masculine, in my opinion. If you look at the grid that we worked with, we put bronzite as a feminine stone. We put labradorite as a feminine stone. And then we put moonstone as feminine stone. So those are some alternatives for you. And then we put sunstone, citrine, and yellow tourmaline as yang stones, masculine stones. And then kyanite is kind of goes both ways. Kyanite plays for both teams, right? So yeah, and so Dreamweaver Babe also incorporates, because you're an LMT, incorporates body work into it, and I think that's so powerful. My shaman who does ayahuasca with me is not an LMT, but still incorporates massage and body work, and it's a transformative experience. When I do crystal healing, I am constantly in touch with the person, whether I'm working on the body or above the body. I'm constantly in the energy field, moving energy. There's one more thing I wanted to tell you tonight, so let me hurry up and tell you, and then I'll see if you have any questions. Your hands, I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, but I do want to remind you, since we're talking about sidedness and duality, your hands are your most important magical tools. When you work with your hands in a healing session, I want you to literally imagine that there are thunderbolts, lightning bolts come out of your hands, because that is actually how it works. If you've ever done plant medicine, then you've seen what your hands can do, right? I've done a crystal healing session on plant medicine, and I could see the web of energy coming from my fingers and interacting with the person's energy field, and it's an intense experience once you've seen it multidimensionally. So when you are touching with your right hand, even if you're just touching your kids at night and stroking their hair, or massaging your hubby at the end of the day, or whatever it is, when you are touching with your right hand, you are moving masculine energy through the system. When you are touching with your left hand, you are moving feminine energy through the system. And so I want you to start to really respect your hands as these tools that can move energy on their own. And so if you have an imbalance, what I want you to do is, whatever the imbalance is, like let's say my masculine was out of balance, I would want to use my left hand, my feminine hand, to move energy on the right side of my body, to do physical touch and massage, taking the balanced side and touching the imbalanced side. You can move energy with your own hands. The same is true of the other side. Your hands are powerful. You should be working with them, touching your tools, incorporating them into your, we don't often talk about touching ourselves, but a lot of like self-massage is very critical. You'll often see me doing things like this, and it's because I'm moving energy in my own field, and it makes a big difference. So really start to see your hands. It is true, if you're a Reiki practitioner, I'm a Reiki master, then you've already learned the power of your hands. If you do cranial sacral therapy or any of the modalities where you're moving energy with your hands, if you're a massage therapist, so you're a body worker, I don't have to teach you this, but if you're not familiar with Reiki, if you're not a body worker, if you're not a cranial sacral therapist, then you may not be as familiar with how powerful your hands are. But it's really true. It's funny, we hired this amazing dog trainer for Bodhi, and the first thing he said is, I do most of my dog training with my hands. And he's like, you might think I'm crazy, but I really think that through our hands we move energy, and dogs can sense it. And Dave looked at me, and I started laughing. He's like, you don't have to convince her of that. I was like, dude, you're so right. But it was nice to hear somebody talk about it, even in the context of dog training. It's like your hands are very powerful. But I'm very touchy, you know what I mean? Like, every day I make sure I touch my kids, hug my kids, move energy on Dave's body, move energy on my body. I'm very touchy with my animals, because I do think that our hands are powerful, and we don't work with them often enough. So get your hands on your own body. You'll be amazed at what you can do. Before you touch your body with intention, I often will blow my breath across my hands and visualize a stream of energy coming through and place it with intention. And it's amazing what a difference that will make, right? And just give it a minute and see if the energy moves through, right? Okay, that was it. That's everything I wanted to tell you. Do you have any questions? I think we started at 10 after 4, 8 after 4 or something like that, so we're officially at our stop time. Oh, I love that. Karina says, as I started talking, she started to rub her injured knee and it feels better. We don't, oftentimes we think other people have these like special gifts that we don't have. Like, oh, when I go to her, she's going to help me because she's got magic hands. And it's like, you've got magic hands. Hands-on healers just understand the power of their touch and they work with intention and they have faith in it. That's the only difference between someone that you think is maybe better than you are at physical touch therapy. They're not. They just have learned how to work with it with more intention. Did you have fun tonight? I hope so. It was a pleasure to be with you. I'm so glad you were here. Yeah, we covered a lot of territory today. I am guilty sometimes of jam packing, but I wanted to make sure you got your money's worth. So yeah, so if your right lower back is sore, right, again, this is masculine, right? So what we want to do is we want to take our left hand, which is on our feminine side, right, our receiving hand, and you want to try to get your hand as close as you can to the source of the pain. And then just breathe. And then take your bloodstone, right, and place it directly where you have pain. I have a friend who has a little bloodstone just like this, and she uses a rubber band and ties it to her arm or to her foot or wherever she has pain. You're very welcome. If you want to know more about houses and astrology, we do talk quite a bit about that in Soul Shift, but what you may want to do actually is have your chart run by a really good astrologer. Tara on Team SG is fantastic, and you can find her on Facebook. Her name is Tara Aal, A-A-L, and she does private consultations. We've got people in our groups who are really good astrologers. So if you want to double click on all the astrology stuff, it's probably best to have somebody run your chart. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad you were here. That's right. What is the ring I have on my right thumb under the sapphire ring? Oh, under the, this is Sujolite. This is a ring that we are going to bring to you. I did this in sapphires, little square cut sapphires, and I did them kind of offset. So this is a prototype. It's got pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple sapphires. We have so many jewelry designs coming, but there's just not enough time and everything is slow right now. But at the end of the year, the new year, we'll have some pretty cool stuff for you. Are you having Tara do your chart? She's really good. She gives you way more than you bargained for. She's the best I've ever had. So have fun with Tara. She's wickedly smart and so comprehensive. You won't leave your session with a single question. She will tell you everything. And then you can have a fun annual session with her where she can progress your chart and tell you what's happening this year. So have her run your natal chart, and then at the holidays each year, give yourself a gift of a progress chart so she can tell you what to expect in the year ahead. That's kind of a fun end of the year ritual too. I'm trying to get Sujolite rings made. It's really hard because Sujolite's not in abundance anywhere. Let's see. Oh, you're so welcome. All right, the Alchemy Grid is sold out, but I'm glad you got one if you wanted one. Enjoy that one. And I have enjoyed you so much. I really, really have. Barbara says, when I was doing the pendulum over the masculine side, I wasn't getting an accurate reading. It was going in circles and back and forth. When you're getting circles with your pendulum, stop, wait a minute, maybe smudge a little bit just to clear the energy, and then ask again. Sometimes the pendulum gets overwhelmed, or there can be information coming from multiple directions. So sometimes just settling and asking the question again is the best way to do it. Sometimes if you're just getting consistent circles with a pendulum, it might not be the right tool for you. Sometimes, but I like to give it a minute. Yeah. How can we work with tonight's channeled personal balancing stones? Are you talking about the palm stones? So by applying them on the body, holding them in your palms, or giving them to your client to hold in their palms, or reading over them with the pendulum to understand the balance of masculine and feminine energies. Those are the three ways to work with those stones. And I mean, obviously there's always other things you can do, but those are the three most important. And I made them nice and flat and skinny like little wafers so that you can apply them to the body easily too. Because remember, obsidian is hardened fire. It removes energy. Bloodstone moves energy through the system. Obsidian extracts it. So they're both pain relieving stones in their own way. The Aztecs would say obsidian's better for pain relief than bloodstone because it literally removes the energy. But I like bloodstone because it moves the energy through the system. It doesn't extract it, but it moves it. Both of them clear blockages. So you kind of can't go wrong, whichever stone you're working with. Yeah, so what is available are tumbled stones. You can find these, I mean, you don't have to get them from Sage Goddess, but you can find them. They're pretty easily accessible. So this is bloodstone tumbled. We have these for $2, and then they're 20% off. And then this is tumbled obsidian. These are $1.50 at sagegoddess.com. So the duo is $3.50, and then it's 20% off. And you get a free gift. You might have these in your collection. So my rule is before you buy a stone, check your collection. Because these might already be there. But if you don't have them, these are two basics. As a crystal healer, I would add them to your collection. They're good to have. Because you're going to have clients who need to move energy, and you're going to have clients that need to remove energy. And in most cases, these are the best you'll have to work with. The only other two stones that are better for pain relief than bloodstone are natrolite, which comes from Russia and is crazy expensive, and then axonite, which comes from Peru. You'll find a little bit of that in Pakistan too, and that's crazy expensive. So bloodstone is your cheapest, most effective pain relieving stone in my opinion. If you ever get your hands on natrolite or axonite, I recommend it because I've had a lot of chronic pain, and those are the three that have really made the difference for me. But at a minimum, you've got to have bloodstone in your collection. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's a tumbled stone or a flat stone or whatever it is. Tumbled are nice just because there's no rough edges and it's comfortable for somebody to hold while you're doing a crystal healing session for them. I didn't call the four corners in tonight because we weren't really doing proper ceremony. We were really just doing a meditation. So I didn't feel like I had to call in the big guns to hold the space. When I'm calling in energy or raising energy or directing energy in certain places, I will do more of that. But when I often, especially as I've gotten more kind of senior in my practice, I don't often feel the need for like industrial level of protection unless I'm doing really serious ceremony. Like if I was doing healing for you guys, or if I was activating a grid, you know what I mean, things like that, and I was running a lot of energy and channeling a lot of energy, I would have opened a circle and called in the four directions. But, and you know what's funny is I was talking to a healer friend of mine about this a couple of weeks ago before my mom passed, because she was saying, do you think you're getting to the point soon where you won't have to open a circle? And I said, probably not publicly, just because I like to train people well. But in my own practice, I don't often feel like I really need that much protection. Not anymore. If the frequency is high enough, right? And there's an extent to which protection is built into the work. A lot of times it's our own fear and our own anxiety and our own frequency being depressed and lowered that makes the need for protection stronger. So yeah, that's a great question. When it comes to an online session, can hands play a role? Yes. Yes, they can. I think they can. I do distance work for people all the time, and they say they can feel it. And I sometimes will use myself as a proxy, right? Working on myself, but sending the energy to them. And they say they can feel it. So yeah, is that helpful? Yeah, the grid earlier was the integration grid to balance masculine and feminine energies. And I think it's gone, but we'll try to bring that one back for you. All right, you guys. Well, it was great to see you tonight. I really appreciate you. So, Soul Shift, we have class tomorrow. And we're doing some crafting. We're making our shadow boxes, our integration shadow boxes together tomorrow night. I'm really excited. And then Friday, I'm going to be live at SGHQ. I am making a special incense in honor of my mom on Friday. And a couple people have asked me to go live while I'm working on that. So I'm going to do my best to go live and share that with you. I wanted to make something in honor of her. So I gathered up all the roses that were blooming in my garden when she passed, and I dried them. And I gathered up all the champaka blossoms on my tree when she passed, and I dried them. And what else did I gather? I'd had this oud powder for a long time that I've been saving, and this rose powder I've been saving. And then I combined that with motherwort and yarrow for sorrow, and calendula and dandelion, and thyme for remembrance. And I'm doing that on Friday in her honor, so I will try to go live and show that to you too. The building is nowhere near done, so I haven't done a tour yet. One day I'll tell you all the stories about how we put this floor down, this beautiful epoxy floor, but then we didn't realize that they didn't do the right tests, and so bubbles ended up coming through, so they had to remove all the epoxy and grind it back down to the basic cement, and now we're trying to design carpeting for that floor 2 years in. I don't recommend construction during a pandemic. If you can avoid it. It's not the easiest thing to do, I will tell you. But anyway, yeah, I'll show you something fun on Friday. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'll show you something fun. So stay tuned. And Soul Shift, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Alexis, for being here this evening, too. I'm not sure what time yet. Afternoon Friday. Probably between like 1 and 5-ish. I'll try to give you a more certain time as we get closer. It's great to see you, too. There's nowhere I'd rather be than here with you guys in your company. Teaching and holding class and space with you guys is super healing for me. So thanks for being my friends. I really appreciate you. All right, you guys. Mwah. Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you for being in Crystal Masters. I really appreciate you. And Soul Shift, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, Alexis. I'll see you guys soon.